All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the February 2021 edition of the MCTV Tech and Treats. This one is on OBS, otherwise known as Open Broadcast Software. This is a really exciting tool that we've used, especially over the past year at MCTV for a wide variety of things, from capturing meetings to broadcasting events. And it's something that anyone can use really, which makes it really nice. So we're going to go through OBS. We're going to talk about what it is, go through the layout, the settings it has, and then afterwards at the end we're going to build a show or a scene creation, as they like to call it in OBS. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the session. So, and also if you missed anything, this will be up on MCTV's YouTube site in the next few days after this. So I'm actually doing this from home, so that's why you're seeing a little different background from me. And I'm going to share my screen. I'm actually on my home computer because it works out better that way because I have OBS and all the things that I really want to use on it. So you guys can see my screen right now? Great. So we'll start off with first off, what is OBS? So it is a free and open source, software that can be used for recording, video recording, or live broadcasting. Open source means that software code is publicly accessible and anyone can see it, modify it, distribute it, and do as they see fit with it. So you can take the source code and modify it for your own thing, or build a third-party plugin, or or an addendum. Also, what's great about it is it can be used with Windows, Mac, and Linux. So it's usable on all platforms. The only trick with Mac products is that if you're using OBS, you're going to need a third-party utility to capture audio. Macs don't have a way to reference their outputs as inputs. So it's not going to recognize the output desktop as an input, which is a little tricky. So if you're using it on a Mac, I recommend using iShowU audio capture, which is a great third-party device to capture audio from Mac and use OBS properly. So first off, where do you go to get OBS? So you can just go into Google, type OBS project, and first thing that comes up is the OBS project, which is Open Broadcast Software. And then you're going to choose your system, what if you're on Windows, Mac, Linux, and then you're going to download, depending on what operating system you have. So in this case, the computer that you're using, we're currently screen sharing, is a Windows computer. So we'll already downloaded it. So here is the layout for OBS. It's the standard layout, and we'll go through it. So it's got that black box canvas. This is your canvas to work off of to build your things. OBS likes to use something called scenes. So basically, think of a scene, if you're familiar with Adobe Photoshop or any Adobe product, as a layer. And you may have multiple things inside that layer. So as you build the show, you're building scenes. It's where you put all your different sources. So sources might be a camera, a photo, text, and you can build multiple scenes. And you can have a whole collection of scenes, which is what we're going to do here at the end of this. So as I mentioned, sources. So you have all different sources. You can click on the add button, but pluses would be adding a source. So you can have audio capture inputs, outputs, a web browser, a color source, a game capture, a display capture, a media source, as in like a video, text, a wide variety of things. You can have a wide variety of sources in OBS, which is great. Your audio mixer. So if you have multiple audio channels, you can use them. You can adjust your audio properly in the audio mixer, and we'll add some audio as we go along. If you're incorporating things like if you use like something like Discord audio or using a lot of multiple audio sources, there's a great free downloaded software called Voicemeeter Banana. It's like a audio mixer for your computer, and you can have that set to export to OBS. So if you're into, 3 or 4 different audio sources and using a mixer. You can do that. Scene transition in studio mode we'll get into, which is really cool. So if you come over here, you have scene transition. So you can transition from a scene, almost like using a broadcast switcher at the office, at the station. You can do a fade, you can do a cut, you can do a swipe. You can also change the time between scene transitions. Then, as I mentioned, you can go into studio mode. So this is great. So it's almost like a program preview window. So your program, it is a program preview window, just like you would have back on a switcher. So you have a program and preview, you can see what's currently going out over your broadcast, and you can see what you have lined up next, which is really good to do. If you're using multiple scenes, I highly recommend setting it up in studio mode so you can see what you're doing. This, and we're going to go through all the fun settings of OBS. We'll do a kind of a quick overview. So you have your things like your general, which is the language, the theme, things like you want to check for updates, all these notifications on output, hey, almost kind of like idiot lights and signals, I guess you would say, saying like, you sure you want to do this? What's going on? We'll let you know when this is happening. So there's a wide variety of those type of items in OBS that you have in your general. So stream. So the whole idea of streaming is, what are you streaming to? Are you streaming to Twitch? Are you streaming to YouTube? Are you streaming to Facebook Live? So you can select from a wide variety of things, from YouTube RTMPs, Facebook Live, Periscope, Twitch. You can select those. It will give you kind of a automatic, I'd say on server, keep it auto. It'll work its way for you. And then the stream key. The stream key is very much like your code, your password or access code to access that stream. If you're streaming on YouTube or Twitch, you'll have a stream key, and you'll copy that stream key and you will put it into here. You'll copy paste it, and it'll allow OBS to send what you're streaming to YouTube or Facebook or Twitch. Is how it works. Then you have your outputs, which is a lot of different variety, like how you're sending out your video, bit rates. A lot of this, it's the amount of video data that's being transferred. What's your encoder, your audio bit rates. So it's telling you, it's basically it's basically setting up like what's the quality of the video that's being sent out. If you're recording directly from OBS, this is your recording path. So you can change your recording path, saying, hey, I want it to go to a different file. You can adjust the recording quality. You can adjust the format of your record to a wide variety of things, FLV, MP4, MOV, you name it, it's available. How it's encoded. If you're using a software encoder or hardware encoder, it all really depends on your system and your settings. Audio, very similar. You can change your audio settings, your sample rate, if it's going to be stereo, mono. Also, what's great in here too is you can change your audio devices, as in what audio devices OBS is going to use. So you can select from whatever audio devices you have on your computer. If you have a microphone that's hooked up to your computer, this is where I use something like Voicemeeter Banana, which works well if you're using wide variety of audio sources, so you have more control over them. Wide variety of stuff on that. Your canvas, so it'll show you what where a black canvas is going to look like. The dimensions, right here on this computer right now, we're going to run 1280 by 720. And our frame rate's going to be a 60 frame rates per second. So you can adjust all this stuff depending on your computer, your internet speed, and how much your computer can kind of pound out. And this is all stuff you can adjust if you look it up and whatnot. Hotkeys, if you have hotkeys set up on, so you can hit something like a key on your keyboard, and it will do something like stop streaming, start streaming, stop recording, all that fun stuff. And then just more advanced settings, which we really don't need to get into. I would say the big things to focus on are your stream, where you're streaming to, what your output looks like, your audio, and your video. These are the things that I would say, to pay attention to mostly, because without them, you're not going to have a good stream or a stream at all, period. And if you make changes, it'll say you would want to hit the apply button, then hit OK, and you'd go back to the screen. So what we're going to do here is we're going to build a scene collection. And if you come up here, there's something called scene collection. And I've made a bunch of different scenes for various games and things I do, and I'll name them by, whatever the game or the project is called. So I built the test scene for today. Actually, we're going to build the test scene. So we have a test scene, and the way you create a new scene, you can go to new and make a new one if we wanted to. If I wanted to copy over stuff from a different one, I can duplicate a scene, or if I want to send it to another computer, I can export it, or if someone's giving me a whole new scene collection, I can import a scene as well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to build a scene. So let's see, we'll call this, we're going to remove this. It has to be one scene. Yeah, so name. So we're going to call this, so what we're going to do first is we're going to put a full screen in. So this is one thing I'll show you guys. So we'll go to our sources, and we have an image that we want to use. So one little thing is you can't have scenes and sources as the same name. So I can't make my source name full screen because my scene name is full screen. So I'm going to give it a particular name that corresponds with what is, so I know exactly what I'm dealing with here. So I'll call it Apex Intro, and I can go to browse. We will put in early. I'm trying to, and then you want to try to find your, where did I put the file? Where is it? Where did I put the file I wanted to use? Full screen image. So we have our full screen image that we have, and then we want it, so we hit OK. So that's our first part of the scene. Next, what I want to do is I want to have a countdown clock. So when someone goes to my stream, this is the first thing they see, and then I have a countdown clock saying, hey, it's 5 minutes till we start the stream. So I'm going to build another scene by hitting the plus button, and we'll call this the countdown. And then what we'll do is we'll go to, and we will add, we want to add a video source. So we'll call this the 5-minute countdown. And let's see, where is, and then we're going to go to this little plus button, which makes us find this. We'll go to add files, and we will go to where did we put this file? There, countdown. And then, as you can see, this is a really huge file. As you see, the entire thing's not showing up. And you can cheat in your Windows by going Control F, and that makes it full screen. So we have a countdown. So we go from, so we'll do that. Then we'll say, all right, well, we have an ad we need to play, or we want, or to, a sponsor that we want to thank. So we're going to go back to our scene plus button, go to add. We'll create an ad. And one thing too, if you have a bunch of files, if you have a bunch of scenes, you can move them up and down in here by going move up, move down. And we'll go back to this plus button on the ad. And we're going to add a video source. So VLC is a third party, one of those third party things that I mentioned early. and we can select a VLC video source that we have. We can call it, I don't know, add. And then we'll go to plus, we'll add a file. We will add this file, go to OK. Oh, it's too big. What do we do? Oh, we'll go Control F to make it a nice full screen file. And what's cool is you can see it gives you almost a countdown clock here too of how long your video is. So you're not flying blind if you're going from one scene to another in your sources. Next thing would be if we have a game. We'll call it game. We will go to game capture. So I actually have a game on, let's see, capture full screen application. Let's see, will it show up? Why aren't you showing up? Let's see. There we go. All right, so here's a trick. So sometimes if you're trying to capture something, it won't do just, you have a couple different options. You can capture any full screen application or capture a specific window. In this case, we want capture a specific window. So we'll capture our stream right here that we have. You know what? We're going to put something on top of this. So as I mentioned, you can have multiple sources inside a scene. So what we're going to do is I have an overlay for this thing. So I'm going to go to add. I'm going to go to browser. We're going to type in overlay. No, we don't want that. We're going to, and we don't want OBS. We want, I'm going to jump over to another screen that you guys can't see here. Where is this? Stand by, trying to get this overlay. No, that's not it. Let's see if that overlay work. No. Where are you? There we go. Oop, wrong one. So if we want to change this, we can go to properties. We're going to change this 1280 to 720. Let's see. And so now we have an overlay built in that we can adjust later on if we want to, and we can move these up and down as I mentioned. Let's see. Overlay, control. If we want to add a commercial break, if we needed, we can call it a break. And we'll go back into our video sources. We'll add a break. Oh, no, it's already in use. Yep, that's what I did. I already had a scene name break. On break, we'll call it. We'll add our video file if we have one. We'll use the VRS add. Actually, no. Actually, I don't want to use this. I'm actually going to do something a little different just to show you guys. So I want to create a commercial break. You know, say we're in between games on our stream. So what I'm going to do, we're going to make multiple layers. So we're going to first add a video source. Let's see. I'm going to take that 5-minute countdown I had. I'm going to show you guys some fun stuff we can do with it. Make sure we use the loop. We want to fix this. We want a full screen. I'm going to rename this. So if you right click, you can rename and change things. And you can give it a name depending on it. And one of the cool things, as I mentioned, is that it has all these different sources. So we can add text. Text. And it's, like a simple graphic systems type text. So we can, change our fonts. We can select from a wide variety of fonts here, font styles, font sizes. We'll say we will be back soon. We can move it to a decent sized font. And you can see our fonts up here. And we can shift hold and we can stretch it out. Let's see if we can make an adjustment. We can select our font. Let's make it, let's make it bold. The way that's coming out. Let's try a different font. So we'll remove it. Yes, we want to remove it. We go to text. Text. Select font. Let's try, I don't know, Bookman old style. Let's maybe do something 100. No, 88. So that's better. So, we can move this font around. We can also change the color if we wanted. So if we wanted it to be green, we wanted it to be, red, whatever, we can change colors, which is really cool with, this. It's a pretty simple, it's not going to be some crazy fonting system, but it's going to give you basic essentials with fonting, which works really well. So if we wanted to do a whole show in OBS, we have all our elements set up here, all our scenes, our full screen, our countdown, our game, our break, all that stuff. So let's go into, so we'll select full screen and we'll go into studio mode. So here we are, we got our program in preview. So if we want to select, all right, our countdown's next. We have that queued up, ready to go. That's sitting in the preview. We go to transition. So now we have, as you can see, this has audio on it, which is great. You can see the audio levels moving. As you can see, it's a little hot right now. We can adjust it by just dragging this down. As you can see, it's not going into the red, and now it's not even going into the yellow. So, all right, let's just say we want to get out of this right now. All right, our next thing is our ad. So we queue that up just like in a switcher, program preview. This is our preview deck. And we go to, let's just say we want to cut right now. We can just do a straight cut. It's going to bring us right to our ad. And then after that, just fix this on the other side here. Let's just say instead we want to use, we'll go to a fade. So we faded that in. And then after that, all right, we want to take a break for a few. We just transition into, another piece. So what's really great about it is that you're able to take a wide variety of sources and piece them together and build a really full show, which is what I love about it. I can take a wide variety of pictures, videos, sources. If I had a webcam set up on this gaming computer, I could import a webcam. I could create this is a layer. So if I said, hey, I also want to show my webcam in this, I could go in here and I could, basically pull a source, create video capture device. And I can pull up that webcam and put it, somewhere in, actually, because I'm on preview. I'm looking at preview. So if I had it, I could pull a webcam up in here if I wanted to. So if you're ever watching like YouTube and Twitch and you see like someone who's into gaming and you see their game, you see their chat stuff, you see their camera, that's where this is all being built. It's being built in OBS and it's just using multiple layers is how they're doing it. There's a lot of plugins, as I mentioned, a lot of third-party software that you can use for it. But it's really easy to use. It's really simple, and I recommend just start playing around with it. Just play with, basic things like photos, videos that you have. It's really, really, really enjoyable. Oh, someone else just popped in here. Didn't realize that someone else had popped into the thing. That's pretty much it from an OBS standpoint of how to use it, how to create things in it. Any questions? Going once.
So you're going to be broadcasting this live, and as you're setting up this studio mode,
yeah,
as you put it into program, is that actually broadcasting to your Twitch? Or
so actually, yeah, it's a good question. So we were actually broadcasting this. I'm just running through it today. So your controls here. So you have a start streaming, which is what you're streaming to. So if you're streaming to Facebook, if you're streaming to YouTube, if you're streaming to Twitch, you name it, you would hit this button and you would see, actually I'll hit start stream. So you hit start stream and it'll tell you, all right, here's your little devices right here. It'll tell you how many, kilobits per second, how much the CPU is being used, what frame rate, and that little green button and that little green light. The green means good. So it means it's a good stream. There's not frames being dropped. It's a good high quality stream. And then when you want to stop streaming, of course, you would go to stop streaming. Stream stops. Same thing with the record. You would set up as I mentioned earlier, what you're recording to. So you hit start record. OBS starts recording to wherever you told it to record to on your computer. And then as soon as you're done, you would hit stop record on it. That's how it works.
Great.
Another thing too is, as you notice in the scenes, they're in a particular order. You don't have to go in that order. As I mentioned, you can move things up and down. So if we wanted to, hey, we need an ad before the countdown, we can move the ad up before the countdown with these arrows. Also, if we can do it, if we need to jump into a break right away, we can just click on it, put it in preview, and hit the transition button. And very much similar to with sources. If we had a wide variety of sources and we needed them in different layers, we can move the layers up and down inside the source. Trying to think if there's anything else I missed on this.
You can also right click on one of the scenes and you can make it so whenever you click on that scene, it will automatically do a separate transition than the other ones.
Another thing too I want to point out is sometimes if you have multiple things going on with OBS, you can create a separate window to see what's going out over program. And if sometimes you might have OBS minimized, if you have, you're playing a game and you're trying to work off maybe two screens, you can go into your program, right click, and go to windowed projector, and it'll create a little window that you can watch. You can kind of keep an eye on what your program looks like. It works really well with multiple screens. As I mentioned, sometimes occasionally you'll have OBS minimized. Like for example, if I'm doing like a higher end stream, I'm using 3 windows and I have OBS, I have the game I'm using, I have the overlay, I maybe have a Discord app running, and I'm maybe checking what the YouTube, chat log is saying. So, it's almost like in a stimulation overload where all right, but I still need to see what's going out over what it looks like on OBS. Minimize this, and you can keep your projected window up. It works really well. And then when you need to jump back into OBS to change a scene, you can open it back up and change it to whatever you need it to.
I don't know if this is an advanced question. If you have your webcam and then you want to show what you're gaming, how do you transition just one, not both?
If you want to transition, or you want to, do you want your, as in you want to show
like
yourself while you're gaming?
So if you want your webcam to be a window in a window,
yeah. So if we had, let's see, I don't have a webcam set up on this. So,
Oh, it doesn't, yeah, just something that's stationary
Yeah.
that stays there. Yeah.
so I'm gonna put this back into, so if we were in here, you could do, video capture display. So if we had a new video capture, we'll call it webcam. I don't have a webcam set up on this. You would go into here and it would say like, hey, I detect the webcam. Where do you want me to put it? What is it? And what you could do is,
Okay, just resize it so it.
Yep, just resize it. So if you wanted your webcam up here, there you go. So it's basically, you're just putting a layer on top of a layer. And just making sure that the layers are set up right, because if your layer is, if our webcam is under the game, well, we can't see it. And hey, what about our overlay? We need to make sure. So it's also just, if you're like, hey, how come I can't see it, but I have everything else here, what's going on? Check your layers. It's very much like Photoshop in that, the hierarchy of layers is very important.
And then you just select the thing that you want to transition, and then the other thing stays put.
If you're transitioning from.
So if you were, let's say you put the preview into your program, and then you want to keep that webcam present through the whole thing.
Okay, I get what you're saying. You can also go to that. You can also, if you see these little eyes right here, you can click the eye off. You can't see on this. So say we want to get rid of our webcam. Actually, why is it doing that? You should be able to not make the webcam visible. There you go. So you can shut off a layer too if you wanted to. In OBS, what you would have to do is just make it a transition. So say we're in OBS right now, we have our webcam, we want to shut it off. We can, and it's in program. We can just click the webcam off and we can do a quick cut.
Got it.
And there goes our cam. If we want to turn it back on, we do that. You can hit the cut button or the transition button if you're into the fade on it, and your window and your camera will appear, and you can move this in. So that's how you can do that. Something to note, something else is that certain games, if you're using this for game streaming, some games won't. If you say you might have your game set up ready to go, and it's like, how come I can't see it? Sometimes games won't work until you're actually inside of like a part of the game. I've noticed with some of them, like if you're on like the main screen of the game, it won't show up in OBS, but once you're into the game, it will show up. So that's something to watch out for. On occasion, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I had on that. And as I mentioned, it's great. It's super useful. There's a ton of third-party applications for it. I mean, what we're doing today is great. It's just scraping the surface. You can do a whole OBS deep dive. Sometimes you'll see people with multiple cameras on an OBS, like how they do that. You can create a Photoshop. So if you had, if you can create a layer in Photoshop and then, put your 3 cameras on top of it. So it will work well with things like Photoshop and, Adobe type products if you wanted to create, big fancy full screens and then put something on top. Trying to see if there's anything else. Can you group scenes? Grouping scenes, I call it a scene collection. So a group scene is a scene collection. So that's what a group would be. So if you go up to scene collection, you can, as I mentioned earlier, you can create a new scene collection. So if I have a certain setup for a certain game or a certain video project I'm doing, I can create it in advance and just, save it as a group. And when I want to use it next time, I just go up to scene collection and say, hey, all right, I want to use, my base setup. So I have a base setup all set up, ready to go. And when I want to go to another one that I need, I can just go to my. So that's how you can group scenes together. So you don't have to recreate everything every single time. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This was really fun. OBS is something that we really, let's see, our plugins on the OBS site. I don't think so. If you go to like OBS forums and stuff like that, they are out there. What's really good about OBS, it will detect certain things. So if you noticed, I used a thing called VLC Video Source. That's a third-party plugin. I downloaded the VLC video player, and it automatically was detected by OBS. Once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This will be up on our YouTube page in the next few days. So if there's something that you're not sure about, feel free to watch this again, or feel free to give me a call, email me, and I can sit down with you and go through OBS. It's super fun. You can do a lot of neat things with it, as I've mentioned, and really play around with it. That's the best way to learn with stuff like OBS, is play around with it, experiment. If you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. And it's a great way to broadcast on new exciting platforms. So thanks everybody for coming out tonight. Appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon.